All right, let's start off with the low end. Nice little PML kick sample, really short, gives the toms enough space to groove along with the kick. By itself right now, it kind of sounds like it's the click of the kick is pretty sharp. So I was playing around with the idea of softening it. But in the mix, this really helped the kick come through. So this was no longer a good option. First time trying R bass on the kick, and it was actually really, really good. Felt it just needed a bit more oomph. Sounds good. And then our toms, more PML samples. The same sample 3 times, just pitched differently, so it can follow the bass progression. Then here is the tom without the EQ. And then with this tom, we have another tom layer. A little loop from Audio Tent. Also pitched up to follow the bass progression. Actually, a lot of low end on the sides there. I probably should have cleaned up. Oops. Well, you don't really hear it in the song, but it's kind of annoying when you're just soloing the low end. Yeah, oops. Anyways, off to the sustain bass, brought to you by Diva. Just a good old init patch, another oscillator, doing some harmonic stuff, you know, with the 5th or the 7th or the 9th or whatever you call this one. Yeah. Music theory. No real processing. I guess kind of sidechain to the kick, sidechain to the tom group. And then this filter is taking a lot of the high end out. Because all I really wanted was the low end warmth. Also, try out this PRD with some drive. It's kind of nice. Yeah, play around with that next time you're working with some bass. And then finally, we got this guy. Every 8 bars, we got a little boo, because that's what our boy Izevsky was doing in his remix. Here it comes. Ooh. So yeah, it sounded cool, so I kept the idea. All right, and then on the group, we got some very minimal amount of decapitator. Some EQ, hitting out deck on some of those sides. Actually, now the sides aren't even really hitting that much now that, yeah. So I was aware of the sides, but probably should have just done it here. Anyways. And then the glue compressor to kind of glue things together. Pretty subtle, but just makes things, makes the whole group sound kind of cohesive. Percussion time, baby. Got some hats. Sticking with the PML theme. This one. Kind of giving the body lower frequency covered And then the Ben Bomer hat gives it more of a transient, higher frequencies combined. Nice. And then I got these little texture layers coming in every once in a while, just to give it some more randomness. Nice. And then I like to use Decapitator or some sort of saturation when I'm layering samples for a certain element to kind of glue it together. So let's hear without. I find it just helps make it sound like one sample rather than a bunch of things stacked on top of each other. Basically, it glues it together. And then we got a hat loop, kind of just adding to the existing hats, bringing them in, you know, midway through the progression. Feels like it just adds more body, more smack. It's very subtle. These cymbal kind of airy cymbals really helps add some energy on the back half of this progression. Claps, courtesy of a sample pack I'm working on. Sounds of Pacific Northwest. Sopatnu. So this first one is a thick, wet plant punch, number 9. Yeah, nice and wet. Here we got a tree branch smack from the spruce tree, lowering the attack. That's just too much. Combined. Oh, there's a bit of probably could have done that, but whatever. And then again, like I did with the hats, we got some Decapitator gluing the two samples together. Yes, sounds nice. Little top loop. Some shakers. And then a nice little conga sample in the key of C. So something I really like doing is making sure a lot of my drum elements are harmonically nice with the rest of the track. So let's solo this with our toms. They sound like they're in the same key, which sounds really nice when playing together. Also, big tip, making sure your percussion groove with most of your elements in the track. So especially the low end and percussion grooving together is key. Yeah, sounds good. And then to spice things up in the second half of the track, we got this little sample, an EQ, little echo boy here, a reverb in the key of C minor. So again, going with the theme of keeping your percussion, for the most part, harmonically compatible with your song. And then we got a nice little fill. And our fill that kind of runs through the entire track. I guess I got kind of lazy with it, but Oliver coming in with the beautiful. Now we can look at the percussion group processing. Starting off with a bit of EQ. Drum bus on a very small amount of drive. Some mag EQ, giving a little boost in the 160 area. Some airband sizzle. We got some width with the ozone imager. Shimmer is just acting as a transition thing right here. And yeah. Let's see without processing. And then auto filters kind of going in and out for transitions and whatnot. There you go, that's the percussion. And then to add a bit of swing and groove to our percussion, using the groove pool from Ableton on this setting at 50% wet or dry. Most of the elements have it, not this one, but yeah, most of the elements that I felt needed to match the same groove are on this swing setting. And I think my toms are also grooving, yeah. Just to make it cohesive and so everything swings together. Because we all like swinging and dancing and swinging and dancing. All right, on to the melodic stuff. Starting off with the piano chords. Good old Noir felt sample or piano VST on the 50s preset. EQ, saturation, a little bit of vinyl distortion for some grit. Reverb. A lot of automation going on with just the vinyl distortion and I think even the reverb. Just everything to kind of move it in and out. Mix going in and out. Auto filter. Like right now it sounds really distorted, but in the mix. You can't even tell it's distorted, but I think it's the distortion that helps cut through the mix. A lot of velocity changes throughout the track. So right now when it's like at the full peak of the track, these are hitting harder and then softer as we get to the break. Next, we'll talk about the plucks here. We got 2 layers. First from a Kontakt, hybrid keys, preset, balladium, some saturation on there, faster master preset, EQ, compression, delay, lots of automation throughout the entire track just to keep it flowing, keep the movement going, and to like bring it in and out as the violins come in, and yeah, just adding movement to the track. Our second layer, softer diva patch. There you go. Again, lots of automation. Keep that movement going. It's all very subtle. You don't really notice it, but it helps kind of, like I said, move things in and out as other elements come in. Same Saturn preset. Probably the same processing, to be honest. I probably just duplicated this layer and added diva on top with some ROM reverb. Then on the group, we got a little bit of exciterness from Neutron. Makes the the high end a bit more brighter. EQ. This reverb being automated as the track progresses to the break. Volume automation. It's a little extra layer here. Sounds great. Now for the strings section, the violins, we're using Contact, Antarctica preset. Quite a bit of velocity changes throughout. Again, with the automation to bring it in and out, adding movement, saturator, echo boy. Some reverb and a bit of panning mixed in throughout the track. Using the Audio Tent preset, plate reverb. For the note progression, it starts off lower, then slowly ascends as the track progresses. This was inspired by the actual reference track itself. I noticed that they started low and then eventually started crescendoing up and up and up, kind of giving you, again, movement, which I think is so important in this genre. So that's what I did here. Kind of slowly progressed up and up and up, and then it got super epic. And then dwindled down to the break. We have this Omnisphere layer underneath the violin, adding a lot more ambience and just like randomness. We're on this Waters of the Nile preset. Super cool. So listen to it without and with. Then on the group, just a bit of excitement. And some EQ. Now for the second half of the track, man, when I found this splice sample, I was like, hell yeah, this is a perfect fit for this song. So let's take a listen. Yeah, I just harmonized so well with everything else going on. I'm just so excited to talk about it. I'm stumbling over my words. Yeah, it was just sounded so good. There was really high pitched noise. So that's gone thanks to the EQ. And then without this reversed layer here, it kind of, the higher frequencies abruptly stop. Like right there, kind of. Sounded like too much like a loop, so I added this second layer. Same sample, just reversed it so it could like blend in better. And then finally, we have a little bit of a tension high string layer that just kind of really rounds out the end of the track. And then for our group processing on the melodic stuff, we got Pro MB on the full 3 bands. Tape saturation. And then track spacer to move out of the way as the vocals are coming in. So in the reference track, there was this little 4-bar kind of spoken word moment that happens twice throughout the song. So naturally, I had to add my own, and this is how it turned out.
Everything's blooming now. It's just so beautiful.
So that's me saying everything's blooming now. It's just so beautiful because the song is called Spring 23. And when it's spring, things are blooming and it's fucking beautiful, man. So we got this first layer.
Everything's blooming now. It's just so beautiful.
Wanted kind of like a spoken, somewhat harmonic layer, giving me some low end for the vocal. Starting off with some Nectar preset, maybe parallel smoothing preset. Reverb off. More EQ. Mag doing some air work, some boosting, some lowering. Some micro shift on the clarity setting.
Everything's.
Kind of widens it a bit. It's pretty low, I think, on the mix. Yeah, right here. Alter Boy.
Everything's.
Sounds cool. And then some Echo Boy.
Everything's.
Then the second layer is this auto-tune kind of vibe going on here.
Everything's blooming now.
Harmonizing with this first layer. Nectar on the same preset. Mag doing the same thing. So again, I probably just duplicated this layer, then adjusted certain settings. We got Alter Boy doing...
Everything's blooming now. Everything's blooming now. Everything's blooming now.
Kind of tuning it, keeping it pretty consistent. Micro shift a bit of width again.
Everything's.
Some plate reverb and Echo Boy. And then the final layer of this vocal chain is this.
Everything's blooming now. It's just so beautiful.
Adding a lot of high-end brightness, wide with the Haas effect. Without it.
Everything's blooming now. 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 Everything's blooming now.
Yeah, nice. Very nice. Then we got some group processing going on, a little bit of OTT. RC20 doing some reverb. Pro Q. Nectar doing some de-essing.
Everything's blooming now.
And yeah, we got a little bit of, I think this is the reverb for,
Everything's.
yeah, a little bit of Hall reverb, default vintage reverb. And then we got a couple of delay throws at the end here. All right, let's go through all the effects and ambience and all the transition kind of sounds that are happening throughout the track. Starting off with some nice organic rain and birds. I have a Zoom H1N field recorder that I carry around a lot, and just whenever I hear something cool, I'll turn it on and record cool sounds, and always comes in handy for organic music or any music really. Just having it in the background adds like a different element. It adds life. So we got that little layer running throughout the track. And then in the breakdown, we got some more birds. Oh yeah, some mourning doves. So cool. I'm trying to learn how to do that with my hands right now. That noise. Let's see if I can do it. Hey, first try. Too high though. I gotta work on the pitch. This I love. Some Mystic Beach waves taken from Vancouver Island. I love using waves and shimmer to create some really cool transitions. Just so smooth and just love it. We got some sample, probably from Splice, echo, shimmer on this guy too. Nice little rattlesnake sound almost. And then another cool transition sound. What else we got? We got this guy. Oh yeah, in the reference track, I noticed like every 8 bars again, kind of going into each phrase. Every 8 bars, basically, it would kind of suck you into it. And then we got this guy. Sounds so cool. It's just a vocal sample. Just the first little snippet of this guy. Turn this off. Dope. Freaking dope. Some more transition sounds. Love sounds like this. It sounds so cool. We got the piano hit here. And then finally, another transition sound. Using one of my stick snap samples. So let's hear without ambience. Yeah, it just adds a lot more life. And kind of noise too. There's like that kind of noise layer that a lot of people add to their tracks, but if you can add some natural ambience, I think it sounds cooler and more organic. And then we finish the track off with the sound of me turning off my Zoom H1N field recorder. You have one of those, you probably recognize that noise. All right, so let's walk through our little mastering chain here, starting with the Pro Q, brick wall at 20 hertz. I heard Deadmau5 do this, so if he does it, then so will I. And then we got some imaging, some stereo imaging with the Ozone Imager. I saw this guy, Zen, he's a YouTuber. He likes to widen this section a lot, and I started trying that out, and yeah, it's actually sounds pretty good. So I've been doing that lately. I think he likes to narrow his high frequency range, but you know, depends on the track. use your ears and then make adjustments accordingly. Next, we got the Pro MB multiband compression on the 3-band preset. Some mid-side saturator using Brainworks BX saturator. I know Anammer uses this a lot, or used to at least, in his older videos. So I tried it out, and yeah, I like it a lot. Sounds fresh, sounds good, sounds profesh. And then of course we got the glue compressor. Pretty mild. Not a whole lot going on, but it really does glue it together.
Everything's blooming now. It's just so beautiful.
And then Oxford Inflator. You've probably seen, 100 people mention this plugin and they'll never be able to explain properly what it does. And I'm not about to either. So up next is the Gullfoss. Actually doing quite a bit. I've noticed on really shitty mixes of mine, this thing is really nice. Like it really makes a difference. When you have a decent or a good mix, this thing maybe adds, 1 or 2% sound difference. But yeah, I just recently started using this and whew, it's pretty cool.
Everything's blooming now. It's just so beautiful.
Yeah, it just brings it to life. A bit of life from the Gullfoss. And then we got the Pro L on the Practically Clipping preset with a whopping 20 dBs of gain. This track was mixed really quietly. So there you go, 20 dBs.
Everything's blooming now. It's just so beautiful.
I'm actually crushing it more than I normally would, but I liked the volume that I was getting from it, and I didn't notice any distortion. So go as high as you can go, I guess, until you don't like how it sounds. This first one will be with all the plugins and the limiter, and then the second will be just another limiter, just a limiter. Here we go.
Everything's blooming now. It's just so beautiful. 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 Everything's blooming now. It's just so beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah, you can hear more of the high end, like it's way more bright, spacious, full, and beautiful, beautiful.